the third one. I think that's the real problem. And Penn State, they were thinking there was no excuse losing the second one, but it's like once you lose the second one against an 0-4 team that hadn't played great against anybody, there's no excuse, and there's really no margin for error in the game immediately after that. And James Franklin, I don't understand. I mean, he just lost the team. I feel like he lost the locker room. Like, you're telling me that they went and they played Oregon and they played that incredibly close game. Like, they were totally with them. That is like a completely different team that went on the road and you lost to UCLA. That really broke them. And then they go and they lose at home to Northwestern. It is insanity, Jack.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it really is the interception in overtime that really broke this team, I think, and just, yeah,
Right.
lost the locker room there. It just sucks because they were ranked number 2 in the country for like the most of the season.
Right.
It's crazy. And I think this does have to deal with them opening up like those cupcake opponents pretty much. I mean, when you open this, I mean, we've harped on this earlier in the year. If you want to go back to it, like they really did not start out like complete opposite to what Notre Dame started out. Notre Dame was just so confident to bring in Miami and Texas A&M immediately to start the season, but like Penn State's like, oh, we
Right.
want to ease into this one until we get to the Oregon game. But I think that really was kind of leading to their downfall, and I think the Oregon game is really what broke them.
Right. And we had said for weeks that they were going to be so unprepared for that Oregon
Yeah.
game.
Hmm.
Because going into that
Yeah.
Oregon game, that Oregon team had already blown out Oklahoma State by like 66 points. They blew out Oregon State. They blew out Kentucky, but they blew out Northwestern. But in that Northwestern game, they discovered several weaknesses in their run defense. They really learned and they applied it to the Penn State game. Like, they played 3 games against Power 4 teams before they even got into that game against Penn State. And you could just see how much more prepared they were. Like, Penn State was playing against Nevada. I couldn't tell you another team that they played at that time. I
Villanova.
really couldn't. What's that?
Villanova, which I didn't even
Right.
know they had a football program. They're like more of a basketball school, but I didn't even.
I think
Yeah.
they're FCS. Yeah.
Right.
At least Nevada's
Right.
group of 5.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
that's still not
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
Not.
problem when you schedule those cupcakes. Because even though Oregon didn't schedule crazy teams, it's not like they did what Ohio State did and scheduled the preseason number 1 in Texas, which we now know isn't as good as we thought. But like, they weren't doing that. They weren't doing what LSU did in scheduling Clemson, whatever it is. But they were still scheduling Power 4 teams where they could really test and figure things out. Like, absolutely dominated Oklahoma State, dominated Oregon State, had some bumps, did dominate Northwestern, but really learned from it. Where it's like, even if you're not playing spectacular teams, it's really great to have those type of games to really ease into it before you end up playing a tough opponent like that, and no less on the road. Like, even in the whiteout, they were the more prepared and they were the better team, Jack.
You look at the score, that's not really how that game went. It was like 3-17 for most of it until they came
Right.
back in the fourth quarter. Like Oregon looked like the much more talented and just competitive team, and Dan Lanning really took that advantage of going into the whiteout. But
Right.
yeah, this James Franklin era, I mean, I was really shocked to see him fired just because the buyout was so huge. I mean, you just mentioned the Texas A&M buyout from a couple of years ago. That
Right.
was huge as well. And when you look at Mike Norvell, that's going to be, if they decide to fire him, that's going to be a $59 million buyout. So this was really
Right.
surprising to me, just because of how much money. Like, you're not even going to keep him till the end of the season. It was insane. I know he lost the locker room. Those 3 straight losses are not good. He can't really win big games, and he just can't take his team all the way and not really lead his team as like the best team in the Big Ten. And he can't really beat the Buckeyes. But to fire him mid-season, I just thought it was a little strange. I mean, there was people calling for his job way back when they played the Oregon Ducks, and I was like, "There's no way that happens. There's no way." I mean, it was close, and he's
Right.
still a great leader. I mean, he's been with the team for over a decade now, and they're great every year. You know, like
Right.
it's I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think about that?
Right. Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of difficult. Maybe you let him play out the rest of the season to basically fight for his job. It's just they thought it was just so inexcusable, and it was. But he had always lost to the best teams, but he had never lost to teams that were sort of middle of the pack to bottom of the Big Ten, and that's kind of where Northwestern's at, and then UCLA. UCLA is kind of towards the bottom, but UCLA is a lot better now than they were. It's still no excuse. I understand that, but like you could definitely see how they got surprised by that because UCLA finally got out of their own way and had the right coaches making the calls. But honestly, I get it. I don't know if you pull the trigger on that. Maybe you let him finish out the season at least. And it's like, are you going to find a guy that's better than James Franklin? Do you think? Like, I'm worried that Penn State is just going to now fall off a cliff. Like, I think that's the
Right.
biggest way where it's like, at least you had that mediocrity. At least you were beating the mid teams. At least you were doing that. And you were already supposed to have a down year. Like, this was the last year. Players came back to try and win a national championship. Next year was really supposed to be a rebuilding year anyway. Where it's just like, and now like the coach is gone, the QB's already hurt, like everything is bad in Penn State. You just, I don't know. I think maybe you let the guy like basically fight for his job that have basically given him. I mean, half 100 million. I mean, I think it may have been like 56 million that it officially totaled out to, just to
Right.
not just to stay away from the team. Like that's the only thing where it's like I get it, and I do understand he loses big games. I do understand UCLA and Northwestern; those losses were inexcusable. I understand all that, but it's like, are you gonna find a guy that's better than James Franklin? Like at least you were up there with Michigan and Ohio State, and then you were up there with Ohio State and Oregon last year. It's like, where are they gonna be now? Like I just don't. I don't know. I wouldn't. I would be surprised if they're still in the big three. I think it's like Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana now, and they've really fallen off a cliff with James Franklin. And I feel like it's going to even be a harder descent without him, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I still don't see really firing him mid-season like this. It is inexcusable, like you said, but like this,
Right.
James Franklin really led this team out of the dark ages with all the scandals that were going on before
Right.
him,
Right.
and
Yeah.
really like continue to have success and like respect the Big Ten and Penn State name. Like I don't see it, and just so much money just to stay away from the team. But when we're talking about replacing him, I mean, this is just surprising because I don't know if they're going to fall off a cliff like we saw like Nebraska in like the 2000s when they
Right.
fired their coach and they just could not get back to that excellence. So, who do you think could replace him? I mean, some people were saying Signetti from Indiana. I don't see that at all. We talked about this earlier in the program, but like that's not going to happen. He's there in his second year,
No.
and it's
Never.
been like
Yeah.
such a turnaround for that franchise and that school. It's just so surprising what he's done there. And I don't really see Matt Campbell from Iowa State either. I know some people brought up that name too. I don't really see that either. I I
Right.
don't
I don't
know.
know. It's just
It's a
I don't know
yeah,
who's gonna want that job. Because they're treating it
yeah,
like Alabama as like some like high
right,
profile job, and like I
right.
get it, but at the same time I'm just like I don't see it. And also like Alabama has won several national champions. Like that name and that brand is like so historic, and that's why it was such a big talking point of like who's going to go over there, and it ended up being Kalen DeBoer from Washington, which does suck, but probably was the right choice for him because he was losing so much talent from Washington that year, and that was kind of the only year that he had a chance to get out of there with the reputation that he had. But this one, it feels like it's different. Like Penn State's like national, like they haven't won anything in a while. They're constantly right up there with Ohio State and Michigan, sure, but they always lose to them. They lose to whoever's in the top 10 in the Big Ten. That's what they do. And it just feels like it's not as big of a marquee job as they're making it out to be, especially with the sheer amount of money that was poured into this team to succeed. Like James Franklin had gotten like the OC, like everything was just so highly paid to put this team together. And then now they're even paying James Franklin so much money to stay away. Where it's just like, I don't know why it's being treated as such a high profile job. It's like, oh, I wonder if Dan Lanning's going to leave for the. No, I wonder if Percy. No, that's not happening. Like some people
Right,
are just
right.
delusional, you know? So
I
if it
know.
does
Like,
happen, I think it's going to
yeah,
be a lower rated team. in a Power Four, maybe Manny Diaz from Duke. He was the defensive coordinator at Penn State, but it'll probably end up being a coordinator, to be honest, or somebody that hasn't coached in a minute, or maybe they're because if like Mario Cristobal, like anything like that, they're not going to want the Penn State job. You saw the way the
Right.
fans treated James Franklin, and even if you say it's justified, you're always going to be in Petula's shadow. Where it's just like we talk about Signetti, he's going to get a statue at Indiana. Like the stadium will be named after him, I would assume. It's like if you go to Penn State, you're just going to be in the shadow of the guys before you. No one's really going to appreciate you. And you saw how much they hated on Franklin. And maybe you say justifiably, and I'm like, I wouldn't want that job. I don't want to go to Penn State. Like, and they already have kind of struggled with recruiting. Like, I just don't see it as like that this crazy job opening. I don't know. I get it, but at the same time, I don't think it's on the near as the same level of a situation as Alabama's was.
Right. And when you saw Alabama, that job opened up. I mean, DeBoer immediately jumped at the chance. And you kind of
Right.
saw like Husky fans kind of getting mad there because he was kind of building a culture there,
Right.
especially after making that college football playoff there. But I don't think it's as good as Alabama, obviously. But you could say DeBoer's kind of living in the shadow of Saban always. But that job,
Right.
I mean, he is rolling with Alabama for sure. And that job is
Right.
still big. I think this Penn State job is still big because the recruiting numbers are always so big at Penn State, and they always get some of the best athletes, 5 stars for sure. And there is always great
Right.
athletes that come from Penn State. I know people brought up Matt Rule from Nebraska. I really don't see that either, just because he's really this is his 3rd year there, and he's really like building something there. And I know Rayola said he's staying right here. That's my guy. Um, and I
Right.
agree. I think it will be a coordinator. I know some people brought up like Will Stein from Oregon, or maybe Ryan Solerfield. He's the head coach of Memphis. Maybe that's someone they go with. I think it won't be like this big name they're going to make it up to be like. There's no way Signet here like Lanning or Cristobal. Yeah, I don't see that because this job like
Yeah.
it's yeah exactly like the fans don't treat you that well when you can't win big games like that. But I
Right.
do think some coaches are going to jump at the chance to be this job just because Penn State is always one of the best teams in the Big Ten. But I am
Right.
kind of anticipating a fall off from Penn State. I don't think
Right.
they're going to be a horrible team.
Same
I
as well.
think, yeah, I think like this year is similar to 2021. I just,
Right.
this
And
is,
this
it's just,
right.
yeah,
It's such a different situation when you really think about it as the Alabama one too, because in that one they were a playoff team and they returned a lot of the players on that team. And Nick Saban, he had to retire. It's not like he got fired. It's not like the team was so bad and that had played so bad that coach got fired mid-season. No, he retired, and then it was like such a hot spot. Not only the name, not only the national championships, not only everything that they've done, but the fact that the team was like already assembled. The fact that it was a playoff team the year prior, that's really why it was such a hot commodity, where it's like that's not what this is. Like the coach got fired mid-season for losing 3 straight games, 2 of which he probably shouldn't have, and maybe even say 3 where it's just like they just keep losing. Where it's just like I don't know how many guys are going to jump at the chance. Where it's like oh, if I have like that type of performance, like how quickly are they going to run me out of the building? Like I don't know who's really going to want to do that. You know?
right, right, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if this job is going to be like as anticipated. I think some people will kind of jump at the chance just because Penn State's just that big of a program. But
Right.
it's interesting to see like how many coaches have been fired this year. I mean,
Right.
Deshaun Foster at Arkansas, Mike Gundy, just and then at James
Right.
Franklin. I think Billy Napier, he's on the hot seat. Mike Norvell for sure.
Sure. Yep.
That, yeah, that's a lot of coaches being fired. It's yeah, it's interesting.
Right, definitely. And all in all, Penn State's season was definitely not what it was cracked up to be. Not even close. They were number 2 in the preseason. The expectation for that team was like Ryan Day for Ohio State last year. It was just like you gotta win a national championship. It's like your prove it year. It was his year, and it was so atrocious. And it really is such a fall from grace for Penn State and Florida State, both teams that started off very promising, but have since fallen so far down, unbelievably far down, with 3 straight losses.